This is James Hendricks with the Black Sheep Reports. The average national-born citizen in any country is continually indoctrinated into the national culture of starting about the time they begin understanding the meaning of words. There's one country in particular where reality is staring the public in the face, but the truth has been grossly distorted for decades by government and mass media and bias and propaganda. If the citizens would suddenly see the truth instead of what they've been conditioned to believe, they would find themselves in a strange and bizarre foreign land that contraries any of their personal beliefs regarding home. For those who experience this sudden revelation as soon as the truth is revealed, it's likely to provoke profound and immediate sense of disbelief. Like an emergency room personnel, making an insensitive joke, laughter at some point becomes just self-defense mechanism for offsetting continuous absurd realities. Now, outright horrors. This is all happening while the general population takes great pride in having a capitalist democracy as their social economic model for the stated purposes of providing equal rights, freedom, justice for all, and all inclusive participation in the political system. While in all truth, the capitalist democracy in question has been corrupted directly by the legislation in place and collective society's inability to keep the system working for its stated and intended purposes. Now, I want you all to imagine being brought to a place without having any say in the matter and being charged a large fee for transportation costs and administration fees. Now, once at that location, you're required to work and sacrifice for the privileges of eating and paying your incurring debt while the rate of pay is set by your captors. There's no escape, and the path of least resistance is to just submit. Now, resisting this power structure in immediate terms would make life difficult, to say the least. There is no imaginary scenario. For many of this is reality. The land of the free, home of the brave, the United States of America, where national citizens are born with the country's debt already hanging over their heads. And from then on out, they're indoctrinated slaves to serve the ruling class when the time comes. The irony and the major absurdity is that the populace believes that they're just the greatest capitalist democracy ever on the earth, while the country has actually been moving downwards for the last decades. People in poverty, it just keeps on growing. In cases where the U.S. government appeals to act on its own behalf, we have the CIA Operation Mockingbird and the FBI's COINTELPRO as prime examples of programs designed specifically to manipulate public opinions and illegally interfere with the people's right to free speech and assembly. Now, to maintain corporate profits and our status as a world champion capitalist requires the U.S. to undemocratically wage war for protecting our self-interests of continually acquiring and consuming resources. Capitalism demands resources, and in our case, democratically wage war to obtain those resources, requiring a willing public to sacrifice blood and treasure towards that goal. It's all part of modern capitalism as practiced today, convincing the public through the deception to sacrifice their blood and treasure to keep the whole system going for maximizing the bottom line of a corporate profit. The beloved political economic system keeps us addicted, enslaved, and condemned. And this is including military aggression. After being manipulated by unpatriotic government officials and news networks to serve unpatriotic corporations and special interests, we believe we're being patriotic when we're waving our flags, while we're actually throwing the truth, freedom, democratic principles into the bin of the unnecessary and too risky for the powers that be. The entire system of control and manipulation is being run by the less than 1% of the population that's guaranteed advantages. While on the other end, the system is rigged to keep the majority of people enslaved. And because American citizens are part of this system and is contributing to it, in that sense, they are accessories to crimes being committed against themselves. The truth being known in all of this presents a danger for those who pull the strings, keeping the slave camps operating. But so far, the propaganda campaign has been successful in keeping the general public from recognizing the truth. When this reality is presented to the average American-born citizen, chances are high that they'll reflectively and automatically deny any of the truth as form of self-defense. They simply don't want to accept the reality of their government betrayal, and many believe they're being patriotic by defending what they think America is. But again, they're defending lies when the truth is told. When people are held captive and trapped, their hope and dignity can be cultivated through planned and spontaneous rebellion of one flavor or another, which might be the closest America will ever come to pulling itself up from the bootstraps. But because roughly 70% of general population doesn't think independently, they'll look to someone else or a society in general when determining how to think and how to react. This fact is literally being banked on by those who misled us through our government and our news media, while profiting at our expense and that of the entire world. If the prevailing winds and news media say that no reason to rock the boat, then the majority of us will bow our heads and continue on as compliant slaves, just as we've done over the recent decades. Our government escapes the consequences of these realities by manipulating the truth with the well-oiled propaganda machine, and by allowing Wall Street bankers to keep what they stole, and the press has no interest in upholding any accountability. It all works out to continue bribing politicians with more investments or for more campaign contributions from those same banks. And the U.S. keeps right on moving towards the goal of lording over the whole entire world. It's all just part of America doing business as usual, served up by your corporate and special interests influencing the unpatriotic do of U.S. American government and mainstream media news networks to manipulate the American public into unwittingly support for corporate fascism. By all means, this illusion of equality, liberty, and justice through this capitalistic democracy must be kept alive by our government and news media. It's not for the illusion who or what would run the show. This is James Hendricks with the Black Sheep Report. Subscribe if you're new. Links are below, and don't forget to check us out on Facebook. Our page is Media on 9/11. Thank you.